That's a huge glass of milk. Also.
Huge glass of milk.
Don't drink it all.
There's nothing like a cold glass of milk. In my head I was gonna chug it, and now I can't bring myself to. Something about it being in a big glass is really grossing me out. I love it. I love it, and the only thing that would make it better is if it were warm, like straight from the cow's udder. And if it were like a little bit chunky. Like you want your milk to have a little texture to it. That way you know that it's full of bacteria, that it's alive, that it's a living food.
Pasteurized milk, dead food. Raw milk, on the other hand, it is a living food.
That's where the health comes from. I'm enjoying this milk. I can't say milk.
Yeah, throw up.
I might throw up. I'm enjoying this milk, but I could only be enjoying it more if it were raw, if it were fresh.
Unpasteurized?
Unpasteurized.
Look, gasp.
From the cow's teat. I'm gonna pour this down the sink. This is disgusting. Now I'm just gonna be all phlegmy because I drank milk.
Why did you drink that milk again?
I was doing a bit. I was doing an intro. It's part of the art of filmmaking. You wouldn't understand. Meet the raw milk mamas of TikTok and Instagram.
I make videos about raw milk. I've been using raw milk for the past year. It's been absolutely fantastic for gut health. We get it from a local farm.
There's been a lot of controversy surrounding raw milk lately. And as a pregnant woman and a controversial crunchy mom, let's talk about my raw milk consumption.
Raw milk has so many essential minerals and vitamins in it, fats, bioavailable things that your body is craving when you're pregnant. If you're worried about bacteria, they do have lab-tested raw milk, and it tastes so much better.
I realized that I forgot to mention that it's especially concerning when you see pregnant women promoting the consumption of raw milk, since raw milk can have listeria, which can lead to miscarriage. It's gonna get us closer to nature, but you and I know that nature is disgusting and covered in dirt and feces. What's up? Feces. Feces! Raw milk is having a moment on social media and driving real-life sales at small dairy farms.
Susan Young's work starts early and ends late. Even later now that her small little farm has got a new product on the market. This summer, her home state, Iowa, joined more than 30 others that allow producers to now sell consumers dairy products, including milk, unpasteurized. That's raw milk.
That provides a whole new income stream for our farm.
It's a polarizing ingredient. Microbiologists and doctors have taken to TikTok to make their counterpoints to the raw milk arguments.
Hi, I'm a microbiologist, and I wrote almost 100 pages in my master's thesis about bacterial infections in cows' mammary glands, or the place that they are making that raw milk that you're drinking.
They warn of disgusting bacteria in unpasteurized milk that can cause horrific ailments, especially in young children. But certain mamas think that this is a lie pushed on us by Big Dairy, who want to hide the health benefits of raw milk from the consumers in an effort to drive profit.
We've been lied to by Big Dairy. They have a reason. It makes them more profit if we're not buying raw.
According to them, the supposed benefits of raw milk far outweigh the risks. If you didn't know, raw milk is milk that is unpasteurized.
The majority of milks in this grocery store are pasteurized. This means they're heated. But the cool thing is that there are an increasing number of farms that are making milk very cleanly. And this allows them to not pasteurize the milk, to not heat the milk before it comes to you. In a lot of states in the US, raw milk sales in grocery stores are illegal.
Pasteurization is simply heating up the milk for a short period of time. And that heating process kills the bacteria that can make us sick. Pasteurized milk became the standard in the US in the 20th century. And this led to a huge decrease in the number of childhood deaths. Children were contracting diseases like tuberculosis from milk, and they were also getting sick from bacteria like E. coli, salmonella, and listeria, all of which are still of concern today. And Campylobacter. Didn't mention Campylobacter. If you look into raw milk ever so briefly, you will find devastating reports of the terrible illnesses that can befall children who drink raw milk. This especially affects children because they still have developing immune systems. For instance, the New York Times recently reported on a salmonella outbreak tied to raw milk produced by Raw Farm in Fresno, California. Almost half of the 165 people sickened in the salmonella outbreak were children. Raw Farm knows that their customer base is feeding raw milk to their children, a fact that Raw Farm celebrates in various posts. One woman is suing the farm after her child was hospitalized with a kidney infection following consumption of Raw Farm raw milk. In a statement to the Nevada legislature concerning a raw milk bill, a woman named Mary McGonigal Martin shared that in 2006, her son developed a severe E. coli infection after drinking raw milk. This resulted in seizures and a prolonged hospital stay.
Mary McGonigal Martin was trying to find healthier food for her 7-year-old son, Chris. Internet research led her to raw milk. 3 weeks later, Chris was on a ventilator, undergoing kidney dialysis, and had developed pancreatitis. She says it was E. coli from the milk, and it led to 2 hellish months in the hospital. Chris survived, somehow miraculously, according to his mother, but she spent the 17 years since then warning the world about foodborne illnesses.
In 2015, there was another terrible case out of Oregon where 4 out of 5 of a dairyman's children fell ill after drinking raw milk that was produced on the farm. That dairyman was also selling to family friends. One of those families had a 2-year-old that ended up contracting something called hemolytic uremic syndrome from E. coli that was present in the milk. And that syndrome led to a stroke that left her paralyzed, and she also ended up needing a kidney transplant from her mother. Crooked Timber is especially interested in mommy influencers and mom trends on social media. Again, I don't care if adults want to drink raw milk, but this obviously affects children, and I'm a mom and I want to give my kids the healthiest start in life that I can. That's my daughter sneezing in the background. No, she's sneezing. And a lot of these accounts that promote raw milk tell me that I should do my own research.
Definitely encourage you, if you're interested in starting drinking raw milk, to do your own research.
So that's what I did, and I'm going to share the fruits of that research here with you today. Pasteurization, they insist, kills the beneficial bacteria.
Raw milk has absolutely been demonized, but it is a living superfood. It is so good for our gut. So many people can't consume dairy. That's because they're getting it pasteurized at the store. The heat process kills all the beneficial, properties of the milk, and then they load it full of synthetics to make up for what they strip from.
Various medical doctors and microbiologists have made their own response TikToks where they explain that pasteurization actually changes very little in the nutritional profile of milk. It does reduce certain vitamins like vitamin C. Who's getting their vitamin C from milk? Hopefully no one.
Me. So I'm not eating any of that fruit.
Andrew has scurvy, but we'll leave him out of it.
Comparing raw milk to pasteurized milk, indistinguishable levels of calcium. When it comes to vitamins, it's a bit more variable. Some vitamins like biotin or niacin are not significantly affected by heat. Other vitamins like vitamin C, for example, pasteurization does affect vitamin C, but even there the effect is fairly small, around 10%, give or take, reduction in vitamin C content after pasteurization. And vitamin C is low in milk to begin with. Milk is not really a significant source of vitamin C. For B2, for example, milk is a significant source of vitamin B2, and the reduction there with pasteurization is in the order of 1 to 3%.
There's also supposedly beneficial gut bacteria in milk. You can find the beneficial bacteria, nutrients, whatever it is you're looking for in raw milk, you can find in other foods that are less likely to harbor E. coli, salmonella, listeria, etc., etc.
But like we said, bacteria like bifidobacteria and lactobacillus, these bacteria that are usually linked to benefits, are present in raw milk in very low concentrations, nowhere near what would be necessary to provide a benefit, unlike the case in yogurt. In fact, when the levels of bifidobacteria in these types of organisms go up in milk, Often that's an indicator of fecal contamination of milk.
Feces! Raw milk supposedly has protective effects against asthma and allergies.
So this is the one idea about raw milk where it got a little more interesting. There are several studies suggesting a link between early exposure to farm milk or raw milk, so early in life, first few years of life, and a lower risk of developing allergies later on. They have not established that one thing causes the other, but there's enough of these observations and they've tried to tease things apart enough that I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's a possibility. There are several theories about which component or components of raw milk could cause this effect, so this is being studied. But again, these observations usually pertain to early exposure, first year of life, first few years of life. So if you're 30 and you're drinking raw milk because influencers are telling you it's going to cure your allergies, that is not what these data are about. As for the kids, I do not recommend giving raw milk to a child, to a baby, and risking food poisoning to shoot for this theoretical may or may not be causal effect.
I've also seen multiple accounts bring up the fact that people have contracted foodborne illnesses from pasteurized milk.
Of course I drink raw milk. Did you know that the biggest salmonella outbreak was actually from pasteurized milk, not raw milk?
Right, but in those cases, pasteurization failed. The reason why that milk resulted in foodborne illness is the same risk factors that apply to raw milk. Like, just because pasteurization fails sometimes doesn't mean that, well, now you should drink raw milk. Well, now you should just not take any precautions. Parachutes don't always open, so I'm just gonna take my chances jumping out of this airplane. You'll find a lot of people like this gal saying stuff like, well, what about soda? What about energy drinks? And it's like, yeah, babe, those are bad too.
You are scared to drink raw milk, but you're not scared to drink processed drinks that have cancer-causing ingredients, ingredients linked to inflammation, and ingredients that disrupt our hormones. Have you ever thought that maybe, just maybe, you've been brainwashed?
Quick question. Do you like my hair like this? It can't stay.
Aww.
But there's a problem with arguing with people who love raw milk. If I cite information from the FDA or CDC, they'll laugh in my face and they'll say, you believe the government and mainstream media. I have a little raw milk enthusiast on me right now, so if I seem hunched over in a weird way, that's why. If there's an overwhelming conspiracy to put poison in your food, why would you listen to these people who are so clearly in the pocket of the man? Overwhelmingly, raw milk mamas seem to be coming from an emotional place.
No, I was going to listen to that, but then I just carried on living my life.
Okay. Well, I won't be doing that. I'm going to do what I need to do when I need to do it. Okay. And I don't need you or anybody questioning me about that. I understand.
Like, for people whose whole identity is being mamas, they very much give off rebellious teenager vibes. The raw milk crowd does occasionally attempt to cite a source. I've seen some raw milk people cite studies that with data that ends around 2008 or 2010.
Let's use the CDC's own data. 1998 and 2010, only 2 people contracted some kind of foodborne illness from raw milk. Neither was even hospitalized, by the way. So I think it's safe to say that the illnesses were pretty minor.
Raw milk has seen a big upswing in popularity as of late, especially since 2020. Now it's increasingly legal to buy. In many states, it's still illegal. You're going to see more cases of foodborne illness that come from raw milk. It's just a numbers game, and we just haven't seen those numbers because most people haven't had access to raw milk or seen it glamorized by these beautiful milky mamas. Can't trust doctors or microbiologists or the government. Who are we supposed to trust? Like, where do we turn to find the right milk? In my research into raw milk influencers, you have to know the farm. That's key. You have to visit the farm. You have to look around. You have to see if it's clean, if it's a clean farm with happy cows.
Not all raw milk is created equal. So when people are scared about, how safe it is and things like that, it really matters and depends on who your farmer is. For all foods, your meat, everything, it all depends on who the farmer is and how they're farming. So would I just trust any milk because it's raw? No, I'm still going to be asking questions about your farming practices, grass-fed, all of those types of questions before I'm drinking it.
I'm not a farm person. If I go to a farm, I'm going to think it looks like a dirty farm because there's dirt everywhere. I don't know how to tell a clean farm from a dirty farm. You know what I mean?
Molly has to date never been to a farm.
I've been to a farm. I've been to an orchard. I've been to a farm. I've been near a farm. I've seen a farm.
Okay.
I know what a farm looks like. While we're on the subject of knowing your farmer, let's talk about Raw Farm. They were the farm at the center of the recent salmonella outbreak that we discussed. They participated in a voluntary recall after testing revealed bird flu in samples of their milk. They hid their Google business profile. It was up until recently. I saw lots of glowing reviews where people talked about the cleanliness and loveliness of the farm. Raw Farm is a family-owned and operated farm. It's owned by a man named Mark McAfee. His daughter, Kaylee Stanziani, runs the farm's Instagram account.
It's Kaylee with Raw Farm. You might see a strange voluntary recall that we just announced through the media. We're not making a big deal about it because it's not a big deal.
She's pretty dismissive of this voluntary recall. A recent post blames this bird flu recall on politics. Kaylee, it's safe to say from her Instagram stories, feels a bit persecuted by this whole thing.
I have seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and enduring the abuse and enduring this reminds me of like dragging a dead body behind the carriage. Like, enough's enough.
She also finds the idea that media outlets want to talk to her dad about foodborne illnesses in raw food just stupid. So stupid.
Media stuff. Gosh. We've had People Magazine, Travel Magazine, Bon Appetit. Like, this is stupid. Like, why is a food magazine for foodies interview my dad about raw milk and bird flu, which is so stupid. If you know anything about the science, it's so stupid.
It's stupid. Raw Farm has been implicated in several other foodborne illness outbreaks. In May 2023, the California Department of Food and Agriculture recalled Raw Farm cheddar cheese after they found salmonella. Food Safety News has reported that when Raw Farm operated under the name Organic Pastures, milk and cream were associated with 8 outbreaks of E. coli, Listeria, and Campylobacter from 2006 to 2016.
Not Campylobacter.
Kaylee said in her rambly Instagram story posts that she doesn't want to make her politics public.
I'm very political. I'm very private about my politics and my political views.
But her dad explained the Raw Farm stance in a recent appearance on the Latino Free Minds podcast.
RFK is talking about something that's really radical right now. Maybe you and I don't think it's radical, but it's really radical.
Right.
When you talk about the power of the pharmaceuticals, the drugs.
Oh yeah.
He's saying, hey, let food be medicine. More drugs is not going to make us healthy.
RFK, Trump's nominee for Secretary of Health and Human Services, has tapped Mark McAfee to apply to work as an advisor at the FDA. I guess it's no surprise that the guy who wants to get rid of the polio vaccine wants to hire the guy with the contaminated raw milk to advise on safety standards. It's like it's not enough for them to simply cosplay as 19th century farmers. They also seem to have to bring back the old-timey child mortality rates. Raw milk and a certain flavor of very online conservative ideology have become so enmeshed that a right-wing magazine called Evie recently released a raw milkmaid dress. Tradwife fashion clearly inspired the dress, but I question what kind of traditional values also permit the display of those big mommy milkers, but I digress. I've already mentioned that there are a bunch of doctors who have made TikToks explaining why raw milk is so dangerous, but the raw milk crowd has doctors of their own that they can point to for some different information. For instance, you've got this guy, Dr. Eric Berg, and this other doctor, Dr. Marley Stubblefield.
There's beef in my Dole Whip.
Oh wait, they're both chiropractors. You see a lot of this in the wellness space, people who are chiropractors who choose to refer to themselves as doctors, which I find very scammy and misleading. It says right on Dr. Eric Berg's website, hey, I'm not a physician, this is not medical advice, but he's obviously actively trying to mislead people by calling himself a doctor. If you're a chiropractor and you're doing that, you get the crooked timber stamp of quackery, and that's final. Dr. Paul Saladino, on the other hand, is a for real doctor.
Kale is bullshit.
Who, for real, actually went to medical school.
Ribeye eats an animal-based breakfast, and I eat an animal-based breakfast of organs, meat, fruit, honey, and raw dairy.
And he says raw milk, A-OK. Sounds good to him. He also promotes the carnivore diet, thinks we should all be eating lots of meat and organs. His website handily divides foods into two categories: bullshit, not bullshit.
Plants do not want to be eaten, except their fruit. If you eat the leaves, the stems, or the roots of a plant, you're making it harder for that plant to live. Plants don't like this. So they have evolved defense chemicals, which they have put into the leaves and stems and roots to dissuade you from consuming those parts of the plant. The defense chemicals might not kill you, but they can do a lot of things that make you suffer.
It just occurred to me that his whole thing is, I hate vegetables, don't eat them, and his last name is Saladino? Come on, that's something. Because I don't have the scientific background I would need to debunk any of his claims, I'm going to apply the same logic that the raw milk mamas do to big dairy. Big dairy is driven by profits. And Dr. Saladino, from what I've seen, is trying to sell me some stuff. He wants to sell me his book about the carnivore diet. He wants to sell me these supplements made out of organs.
A lot of you guys might not want to do fresh organs, or it's hard to get. I'll put a plug in here for Heart and Soil Supplements. I built this company, guys. I strongly believe in them. It's grass-fed, grass-finished, regeneratively raised organs in capsules, always in glass because plastic is bullshit. You can find that at heartandsoil.co. I think fresh organs are best. Get your liver this way, but if you won't do that, this is going to change your life. All right, getting organs in your diet.
I could be wrong. I think he's motivated by profit. And for that reason, I don't know if I buy every single thing that he says. For instance, all this stuff about sunning your balls.
You know, I've wondered often about sunning those, like if I'm supposed to. Because I don't, but
I'm confident you're not supposed to. Okay. Not in this neighborhood. Similarly, we're going back to Miss Kaylee from Raw Farm. She has a pretty big financial incentive to be dismissive of the bacteria found in her farm's milk supply. Just saying. I don't know. I think that's relevant. Let's talk for a second about the power of anecdote. I think that in a world where we have a lot of information thrown at us, and a lot of us, like me, we don't have a scientific background. We have to rely on experts to tell us the truth. And how do we know that they're giving us the real information? In some ways, so much more tempting and fun to just believe in a beautiful stranger like Dr. Saladino or Hannah Nealman. McAfee summarizes the power of anecdotes and the related power of the influencer during his recent podcast appearance.
Your friends are going to trust you more than they trust the government. And that's what we're seeing the trend now is influencers telling their stories in their lives and their transformations themselves, their own personal truth, and ignoring the government that should be telling us the truth, but unfortunately are misleading us or even flat out lying to us.
By all means, question the FDA, question big food. I think you should also probably question little influencer and little dairy. I don't trust them either. That's what I learned from doing my own research. If you have notes from your own research that you'd like to share, please do so in the comments below. My daughter is getting fussy and wants me to get back to being her cow. This is a very personal topic to me as a current cow. So,
raw milk on the way.
Raw milk is on the way.
Hypocrite.
Yeah.
You're giving raw milk to your daughter, right?
Oh my God, I'm actually giving her raw milk right now. I'm so stupid. Let's cut there. I'll see you next time.
We're gonna have evidence of this.